Hey Lightweights, and welcome back to some more lore lessons with LiteWeight. Last video we finished talking about the different lore markers that are in the game. Talked about specifically the giants and Tyr, the giants exiting Midgard and why they did that, and then Atreus' ponderings about what Odin's goal is and why Balder first attacked them. So this video I am going to pick out a couple stories about the Jotnar. I'm not going to do all of them, but I am going to pick out the ones that I think will potentially be important for Ragnarok. So this one might be a little bit closer to spoiler territory because I'm picking out ones that I think will be important based off of things I've seen in the trailer, as well as ones that I think will be important based off of just the 2018 game in general. So if you're trying to have no spoilers whatsoever in terms of trailers and things like that, please do not watch this video because this one will probably be closer. I also forgot to turn my music on, so let me turn my ambient music on. So the first one I'm going to start with is, I'm just going to start with kind of the little background he gives on this segment, his little intro, if you will, his preface. So these are the tales of the giants. Gods are interesting people, but Mother's best stories were always about the giants, the awesome Jotnar race of Jotunheim. Giants were mostly peaceful artisans, craftsmen who built stuff. Their great masons like Thamor built huge stone towers and other structures in all 9 realms, including the massive wall that surrounds Odin's temple in Asgard. The Jotnar also tried hard to stay out of the constant wars between the Aesir and the Vanir. Brock told us that, at first, the giants saw the gods more as squabbling children than any kind of real threat. That changed when the deadly hammer Mjolnir fell into Thor's hands. On our journey, Father and I discovered a bunch of amazing wood triptych carvings crafted by the Jotnar. Each one is a sacred shrine showing stories and prophecies of famous giants. I'll include my drawings of those. When I was little, Mother told me a few stories about stuff in some of the triptychs, but then Mimir filled in more details after we met him. So just like I did with the last game, I'll delineate what is actually the triptych or the lore marker he saw in the game. And then that way you know like what is his thoughts versus what was actually given in the game. So let's start off with Laffy the Jest. Here's my favorite giant tale, one I never heard from Mother, obviously. After Brock and Sindri forged Mjolnir and saw how Thor put it to use, they felt bad, so they forged a new super weapon that they hoped could restore the balance of power in the realms, the Leviathan Axe. One day, the brothers got a visit from a great giantess warrior known as Laffy the Just, the last guardian of the Jotnar left in Midgard. The brothers knew her well and considered her a friend, even called her Fae. She always spoke to them in their native tongue, a sign of great respect that they really appreciated. Laffy asked them for something to help protect her people from being hunted and killed by Thor and his cruel hammer. They gave her the Leviathan Axe and hoped that would put a stop to Thor's carnage. According to Mimir, Mother and Thor never did meet. With Leviathan in hand, she drove a bunch of the other stupid Aesir out of Midgard, ruining their nasty schemes. She kept the realm clear of Draugr and Hellwalkers and chased away trolls and other marauding monsters. But she avoided Thor, helping her Jotnar and other people in their ways while keeping herself hidden. Helping her Jotnar and other people in other ways while keeping herself hidden. Laffy was a chilling rumor in the halls of Asgard, said Mimir, a giantess warrior who thwarted many an Aesir god's plans, freeing those they would enslave, feeding those they would starve, generally making a nuisance of herself in the most noble of ways. That was all a quote from Mimir. Mimir never met Mother either. He says Thor was mad that he could never find her to fight her to the death. After the remaining giants retreated to Jotunheim, she got sick of fighting. Sindri told us that she chose another path in the end. She chose you, he said to Father and me. Both of you. I suppose she figured that was the best chance for the giants to live on. And now, I suppose, that's up to you. I suppose it is. I wonder, are Gorman Gander and I the only giants left in this whole world? As I think about Mother, Laffy the Just, I remember the world I remember the words on one of the lore markers we found in Jotunheim. It talks about the serpent and the guardian, Jormungandr and Mother remaining in Midgard to guard the giant's hopes of peace. It says, "We wait for a champion. We will wait for word that gods grow good." I know that gods can be good. Tyr was good. But with Mother gone, can Father now be that champion? Or maybe it's supposed to be me. But does it matter anymore? It looks like we started Fimbulwinter by killing Baldur. Ragnarok is coming. Can we stop it? Do we even want to stop it? What would Laffy the Just want us to do? I wish I knew. All right, and here's the actual lore marker from the game, titled "The Guardian Returns." We foresee Midgard's fate, overrun, a second hell. Neither Odin nor his dead may reach Jotunheim. The ways must be shut. The serpent and the guardian remained. They alone shall keep our hope. When doom befalls the indestructible, only then shall the guardian return. Until then, we await a better world, one without fear, without greed, without war. We wait for deliverance and justice. We wait for a champion. We will wait for word that gods grow good. Okay, so that's interesting. So in the 2018 game, I just want to make sure that section was actually done. In the 2018 game, obviously Kratos sees part of the prophecy that looks like he's going to die. When I first saw that, to me, it looked like Atreus is responsible for Kratos' death. But after playing it again this time, if you actually look at the picture, it's very short, it's very brief. But if you look in the picture, it looks like Atreus is holding Kratos in his arms. So Kratos is like collapsed backwards. Atreus is on his knees holding Kratos in his arms, and it looks like he's yelling. And from his yell, there's something coming out of his mouth. So obviously it wants us to think that Faye is the champion. But this part here says, where'd it go? The serpent and the guardian remained. Sorry, the guardian, not the champion. They alone shall keep our hope. When doom befalls the indestructible, only then shall the guardian return. So when doom befalls the indestructible, could the indestructible be Kratos? So when Kratos dies, only then will the guardian return. So will Faye come back? But she's dead, so she probably can't. Or is Faye not actually the guardian? Are they referring to Atreus? So does Kratos have to die for this prophecy to come true? I don't know, but it's interesting. Okay, let's talk about Jormungandr. Nobody seems to know much about Jormungandr, the world serpent. He's a giant, which is awesome, and he hangs out underwater in the Lake of Nine, but pops up if you blow the horn on Tyr's temple. The Jotnar shrine to Jormungandr in the Vanaheim Tower shows him as a newborn serpent breastfeeding from a very giant-looking mother, surrounded by howling wolves. Wild. But is it real? Or is it meant to be a metaphor for something? He's also in the Jotunheim wall mural, meeting Father and me at the lake, so I guess that was part of a giant prophecy that came true. Here's something that actually hurts my head when I think about it. When Mimir first spoke with Jormungandr at Tyr's temple, the great serpent told him, "The boy seems familiar to me." He meant me. When I told Mimir that was impossible, he said, according to some legends, Jormungandr and Thor's battle at Ragnarok shakes the Tree of Life so violently that it splinters, casting the serpent backward through time to before his own birth. So, Jormungandr hasn't actually been born yet? This seems totally insane. Freya told me that the serpent just suddenly appeared in the Lake of Nine one day. Soon after, Thor attacked and their battle could be felt across all the realms. The fight ended in a stalemate and Thor returned to Odin empty-handed. The serpent stayed in the lake and grew so big he wrapped around Midgard. Did Jormungandr just drop in from the future? If so, when will his birth happen? Who are his parents? Will he get to hang out with his baby Jormy self? None of it makes sense to me, but then giant prophecies usually come true. So then we have a scroll marker titled The Serpent. The serpent cannot be spoken to, but his belligerence toward the Aesir is unmistakable. The destruction of Tyr's temple is infeasible while he remains. However, his presence has caused the Lake of Nine to submerge it completely. Therefore, the larger aim of fettering realm travel is still achieved. Alright, so now we do have a couple pictures from these triptychs. So let's see. This first one is the one about Gorman Gander's birth, where he's breastfeeding, how he circles Midgard, and his battle with Thor. So I'll try my best to kind of hold that up for you guys to see. This is actually in the game. So if you want to, you could probably just look it up online as well, but I still think it's really cool that he drew those in there. So Ymir the First Giant, I'm going to skip that. Search for the Brave, I'm going to skip that. Bergelmir the Beloved, Thalmor the Stonemason, Hrithmir's Revenge, the Eight-Armed Giant, Hrungnir the Brawler, Thrym the Cunning, gonna skip all of those. Alright, Groa the Knowledge Keeper. I'm gonna read that because she was important in some of our lore markers in the last segment. Okay, dog outside barking randomly. Groa the Knowledge Keeper. I had some thoughts that I wanted to share on Gorman Gander, but now I forgot what they are. Now Ralphie's barking. Someone must be in my yard. Sorry about that. Oh, okay, so it's my understanding from the little bit of lore that I know, which is like so minuscule. Gorman Gander is Loki's child, correct? I think. So that would be why he kind of made that comment, like, oh, the child looks familiar, because that's his dad. Which is kind of weird to think about. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, anyways, Groa, the Knowledge Keeper. Groa's triptych shrine in Alfheim depicts a sorceress giant with visions of the future and a really big library of books. Mimir says that as a seer, she was unsurpassed, the first to have visions of Ragnarok. This attracted attention from the wrong place, unfortunately. Groa was known as the Knowledge Keeper because she gathered every tome of arcane wisdom she could find in the realms, said Mimir. This was all in the hopes of augmenting her powers of prophecy that she might find her lost husband, Arvindil. The knowledge that Groa gathered from her books did make her future vision better. In fact, Groa saw longer and farther than any giant before or since, but she couldn't see her husband. Instead, she saw Ragnarok, the end and the beginning, according to Mimir. When Odin caught word of this ultimate prophecy, he decided it was time to steal Groa's knowledge and hoard it for himself. The ruthless Aesir king had always treated Groa with respect, so she welcomed him into her library as a friend. What she didn't know was that Odin himself was behind her husband's disappearance. Her son Thor had killed Arvindil as part of his barbaric giant-slaying rampage. Odin kept this a secret because he knew Groa's desire to find Arvindil stretched her prophecy powers to amazing new heights. I'm sorry, I think I said her son Thor. I meant to say his son Thor. The way Mimir described their final meeting in Groa's library still makes me sick. He said, smiling, Odin took her by the throat, and with his very hands, he stole her library and her life for his own. So I definitely think Groa is important since she is the one who sees Ragnarok. And I think this top picture is the triptych for Groa, if you're curious for that. All right, now Skull and Hottie. So this, obviously, we see in the trailers for Ragnarok. The most recent one to be specific, and this was what decided me. This is what decided me to do this lore series. This is what pointed out that I needed this lore series because I misspoke. I remembered Skull and Hottie from the 2018 game, but I don't even remember what I called them now. I don't even remember, but I misspoke, called them the wrong thing, and a bunch of people thankfully pointed that out to me. I'm not bitter or upset about that at all, but that's what showed me that I needed to learn the lore a little bit more. So we're definitely going to read about Skull and Hottie because they are in the trailer, so obviously they're in the game. So Skull and Hottie, the wolf giants. My voice is starting to go. Too much talking. I'm out of practice apparently. One of my favorite childhood stories is the tale of Skull and Hottie, the wolf giants. In the lore, they run across the sky, chasing the horse-drawn chariots that pull the sun and the moon. Mother called them the bringers of day and night. On the day Mother died, we found the Jotnar shrine to kill Skull and Hottie in the old temple ruins near... Wow, I just totally added to kill. Let me try that again, because it does not say that. On the day Mother died, we found the Jotnar shrine to Skull and Hottie in the old temple ruins near our hut. Later, Mimir explained some of the carvings on the triptych. He told us that Skull and Hottie were offspring of the archwolf Hrodvitnir, a powerful enemy of the Aesir gods. Odin captured them as pups and, at first, held them hostage in the kennels of Asgard to keep his scary foe at bay. But the legend says that when the sun and moon stood still one day, threatening to stop time, Odin used his ancient magics to cast Skull and Hottie into the sky. They began to chase the heavenly orbs, and time started up again. And long shall they chase, but not endlessly, said Mimir. For it is foretold that someday Skull and Hottie will catch and devour their prey, and that day shall be Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. That confused me. Ragnarok is supposed to bring Odin's doom, and he's always trying so hard to stop that from happening. Why would he set the wolves loose if it fulfills the prophecy? But Mimir explained that, with Odin, it's always about control. After all, the wolves determined when Ragnarok begins, and now Odin controls the wolves. So Odin, by releasing them, is hoping that since he's in control, he could stop them from ever catching the sun and the moon, which would stop Ragnarok from ever occurring, I suppose. And the triptych for that is, there we go, in case y'all are curious. So that's all of the Tales of the Giants that I am going to share. Obviously there are more included in here, but I don't, from the trailers, I haven't seen anything that necessarily makes them super important to include. So for the sake of time, I am going to not include those. But obviously, if as I'm playing through Ragnarok, I recognize a name that I think will be important, I will do kind of just a random one-off video including that lore for you guys, just because I want to make sure we are all up to date on the lore that we need to know. So, let's see. Obviously, we know Skull and Hottie are there. I'm trying to remember back to the trailer. So in the trailer, Kratos and Atreus are standing next to the wolves when they take off. So I'm not quite sure what the significance of that will be. But I'll be curious to know. All of these things are just making me so much more excited to play the game because I want to know. They're just like the perfect little tease that they gave you in the trailer. But yeah, I'm really excited. So next videos, we will get into Fimbulwinter. Because at the end of the 2018 game, when you beat the main story and you go into the menu screen, the one where you can like change their armor and that sort of things, it's Kratos standing there with Atreus sort of off his shoulder. And after you beat the game, after you spread your mother's ashes, it could be directly after the Baldur fight though. I don't remember. But anyways, it's snowing. So that when Atreus says in his journal that we just read, like, oh, I think killing Baldur kicked off Fimbulwinter, they show that in the 2018 game. There's little flakes in the background. And when you are playing the game after Baldur's fight, there is snowflakes in the air. So that's really cool foreshadowing. If we didn't know we were going to be getting another game, which obviously we always knew there was going to be no question we'd have another game. But that kind of showed us that there was going to be shit going down in the future, which I think is really cool. So I'm really excited to read about Fimbulwinter, read about their experiences after the 2018 game. All of this stuff in the next video is not in the game. Like I said, this is between games. So all of this is just information that you can only get from this Lore and Legends book, which I think is really freaking cool and hopefully will help us be a little bit more knowledgeable going into Ragnarok. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and you are excited for Ragnarok like I am, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell button when you do so that you know when I post future lore lesson videos and gameplay videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have an amazing day.